Go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an interview that I'm actually taking part in. I'm the interviewee, but I promised to introduce it. And so I've decided to join the Spanish language Shmup podcast or Shmup show, Killing Martians. I'm not going to attempt the Spanish name. It's going to be awful if I try. So the Killing Martians Shmup podcast, Shmup show. How's it going, everyone?
¡Vamos!
Hey, Mark.
Un aplauso,
Hey, Mark.
aplaudan, hijos de puta. Vamos, dale, métanle onda.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, Mark, for that intro. Yeah, everything is going good. Yeah, Tropy, what can you tell us?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, very nice to meet you, and really excited to have you here. Appreciate the time and everything.
Thank you very much, Mark, for being here. Thank you for accepting this invitation and to share some of your knowledge with us, with the Spanish community. We are going to start with the interview. Are you nervous or something, or it's okay?
I'm cooking. I have all my stuff in here. And what a lot of people don't know is when I record, I have like a giant CRT going. I've got these massive lights on me because of the green screen. So you may literally start to see me sweat as we go through the interview because I'm cooking right now.
Dice que está sudando, que se está cocinando porque tiene la televisión CRT y todos los aparatos ahí encendidos.
Las luces y todo.
Las luces. Bueno, vamos a empezar con la entrevista. A mí me gusta hacer estas preguntas tipo medio... A ver qué nos cuenta Mark. Bueno, para los que no conocen, Mark es uno de los... es él o uno de los youtubers más grandes en habla inglesa relacionado a su canal de Shmups, que ahora mientras que estamos haciendo la entrevista vamos a ver imágenes. Y bueno, por suerte tuvo la gentileza de aceptar nuestra invitación, porque es uno de los youtubers más grandes, de los que más saben y todo eso, para los que no los conocen. Luego vamos a dejar, obviamente vamos a dejar en la descripción para que nos vean en YouTube más tarde, vamos a dejar en la descripción el link de su canal. Y bueno, vamos a hacerle una entrevista porque él conoce muchísimo del tema, pero muchísimo. Y la verdad que, bueno, también tener desde su perspectiva como youtuber, creador de contenido relacionado a los Shmups, yo creo que nos puede enriquecer a todos. Y nada, que vamos a empezar con la entrevista. Así que gracias a todos los del chat. Thank you very much the people that is in the chat room. We are going to start with the interview. So we are going to say the question on Spanish and then on English. So Mark can answer, and then we have Tropi and Rama to translate. Okay. Mi primera pregunta, me gustan estas preguntas, viste, que acaparen mucho, ¿no? O sea, estas preguntas bien de como de drogadicto prácticamente, viste. O sea, ¿quién es Mark? Le voy a preguntar, ¿ok? Y él ahí que diga lo que quiera. Ok, Mark, tell us. First question. I like to make this rare question that are very abarcative. So I want to ask you, who is Mark?
Oh, deep. We're getting deep, right?
Profundo, dice profundo.
That is a good question. Well, I try to make sort of my online presence line up pretty well with who I am in real life, though I'm probably a little bit more of a loudmouth on the show than I get away with in real life, though I am a loudmouth in real life too. I guess like my personality, I think the Spanish language fans can definitely relate to it because I have many friends growing up who, are Spanish and everything. And I think I've heard machismo somewhere in there. I think that's a good description. I think I have a good amount of machismo.
Okay. Traduzcan,
Sort of a stubborn bastard. I think that's probably the best way to sum up Mark MSX. Sort of a stubborn bastard who gets really passionate about shmups more than is probably worth it, is really like allowed in real life, but super passionate, really stubborn, really opinionated type dude, I guess.
Traducime ahí, Tropi, a ver que estás atento.
Ay, lo que dice Mark es que él es un poco más callado en la vida real que en el programa, pero que aún así se sale con las suyas para poder hablar de más a veces en la vida real, y que también creció con amigos de habla hispana, Entonces que conoce un par de palabras, un poco de machismo por allá, le dijeron, por eso me cagué de risa, mae. Y nada, que también es muy apasionado con los shooters. Y nada, que está muy metido en eso. Y que es un poco como lo que llamamos aquí los latinos ricos, papi, que es como un malparido hijo de puta. Eso fue lo que dijo cuando dijo que era un
Mal
bastard.
parido. Okay.
Pero para que nosotros, lo
Claro,
que
para
el
que
slang, el
entre
slang
la
de
jerga
nosotros.
nuestra, en la jerga nuestra, para que
Exacto,
entendamos.
exacto.
Rama,
tiene
pasá el
sus
bracito por la
opiniones.
cámara a ver si se te va el blur que tenés.
Tiene sus opiniones fuertes, digamos.
Sí, sí.
Exacto.
Eso es lo que quiere decir.
Ah, okay. Okay, we are going to with the next question. Mark, what is Electric Underground?
Okay, so Electric Underground is the title of many things because I've sort of used the title throughout all my different YouTubing internet projects. So I actually started the Electric Underground. It never made it onto the internet or anything, but the initial idea of the Electric Underground was actually going to be this whole podcast that I had about fighting games forever ago. Can't remember, like 2012 or something like that.
Okay.
And I actually went ahead and like emailed different people to see, oh, can I use your licensed music in my intro, and got everything all ready together. And then never did anything with it because every time I'd sit down to record, I hated the sound of my own voice. I thought it sounded stupid. And I was like, I suck. And so all those recordings never made the light of day or anything. But then I can't remember now, 2015, 2016, somewhere in that area, I got really, really into shmups in that time, and I was playing a bunch of Dodonpachi, and I got my first one all, and I was all excited about it, and I wanted to talk to someone about it. Literally no one I knew on earth cared about shmups or liked shmups, and so I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? And I was really into podcasts at this time, so I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was this shmup podcast of some sort? And the only one that I could find was in Spanish. Not Spanish, sorry, in French. And as cool as that is, I had no idea what they were saying. So I thought, why don't I start an English language podcast? And I decided to just use the term that I was going to use for my old podcast, because there's about the idea of the Electric Underground is sort of like a fictional arcade. Like if I ever opened an arcade, I would call it the Electric Underground. I thought that sounded kind of cool for a name for an arcade. And so that was the whole genesis of the name. And then I moved into sort of more YouTubing than just purely podcasting. And I was like, well, let's just keep it rolling. So it's actually had many forms. A lot of people really like the name though. And I actually had to sort of fight for it a little bit, because when I first started, if you Google it, you might still find it. There was another Electric Underground podcast, but it was about like dubstep and stuff.
Ah.
And,
Makes sense, yeah.
yeah. So I was like, and so I remember even people messaging me like, oh, you should probably change the name of your show, because every time we Google this, we were getting dubstep talk. And I was like, no, we'll just keep going until one day we beat them. And when people Google the Electric Underground, they see my channel
in
instead
the
of the
years
dubstep channel.
in the years that
Yeah.
you start with the idea of a podcast of fighting game, the dubstep was very high in that
Yes.
that years. And there was
Absolutely.
bueno, lo que dice Mark, lo que dice Mark es que había empezado con un. Le preguntamos qué era el nombre de Electric Underground, que es donde con lo que empiezan sus videos de YouTube y eso. Entonces es lo que nos cuenta, que él había empezado con ese nombre para darle nombre a un podcast de fighting games que tenía en esa época. Pero resulta que, bueno, los había grabado y esos podcasts nunca salieron a la luz del día, por lo que nos cuenta. Y bueno, que había contactado un montón de personas y que... No sé, ¿alguien me ayuda, por favor? Que estoy...
Sí, no,
Sí.
lo que decía es que había buscado, había intentado contactar personas, había grabado, no le gustaba el sonido de su voz, no le gustaba cómo sonaba. Y después en un momento dice que se puso a jugar Dodonpachi, consiguió un clear, y también se puso a buscar contenido de Shmups.
Ujú.
Y lo único que pudo encontrar fue lo que es de la comunidad en francés.
Ujú.
Y decidió
Creo
empezarlo en
que,
inglés.
que decidió empezar lo suyo en inglés.
Sí,
Va.
que hablaba con
Después,
no entendía lo que decían y que por eso decidió empezar el programa, pues su propia plataforma. Y luego lo que pasó con el dubstep, que había otra
Hay otro Electric
otro
Underground
podcast
que
que tenía
de
el mismo,
dubstep
exacto,
y
que
claro,
tenía
es que
el
en
mismo
esos años,
nombre
y
y
todos nos acordamos, 2012, 2013, el dubstep estaba ahí arriba,
Estaba en lo
en
mejor, estaba
auge.
puro Skrillex.
Puro Skrillex ahí a morir y estaba en el auge. Entonces,
Yeah.
nada, eso.
But you beat it, Mark. You beat Skrillex. I mean,
Yes.
this is worth something.
Yes.
I don't know. I
Exactly.
don't know what Skrillex is. So
I'm pretty
maybe-
sure-
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure in the world of the internet, if you say Skrillex, they might be like, But if you say Electric Underground, everyone in the world's like,
Yeah.
yes. Okay,
Right,
now,
yeah.
yes.
I get it.
That's the guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
That's the guy that
Shmup
kills
guy.
Skrillex.
Hagan la próxima pregunta quien quiera. Así lo hacemos dinámico, porfa.
I gotta say, what was the first 1cc you made it? But I mean, I think it's Patchy, but probably I don't know if you played something else. And
Yeah,
So
so
it's
the
gonna be
first
like-
one the first 1cc I ever got was actually Axelay before Dodonpachi.
Axel.
But Axelay was so it was like I was playing Dodonpachi first though. The funny thing is I started Dodonpachi first, but when you're first beginning bullet hells, it's kind of a tough clear. And so
Yeah.
about halfway through my Dodonpachi clear, I was like, I need to beat something just to give myself more motivation. So then I
yeah.
flopped over, you know, like on the side, beat Axelay, and was like, yeah, I'm awesome. Okay, then come back to beat Dodonpachi. So I actually started on Dodonpachi first, but just to boost my own confidence, I actually cleared Axelay before that. So I guess Axelay is my very first clear, though I started Dodonpachi before it.
Traducí nomás. Que el
Okay.
Bueno, lo que dijo que empezó a jugar Dodonpachi para poder sacar su primer clear, pero que no podía y se puso a jugar Axelay y que
su primer
solamente
UCC.
su primer UCC fue Axelay y que
Axelay.
lo sacó para intentar ganar, ¿cómo es?
Confianza.
En sí mismo.
Sí. Para ganar fuerza y tratar de sacar el 1cc de Donpachi. Pero para los que no conocen Axelay es el juego de Super Nintendo y Super Famicom de Konami, que es horizontal, tiene pantallas de profundidad también.
Que
Es
tiene
un
el modo
juegazo,
7, ¿no? El modo 7, así ya fue.
Sí, el modo 7, juegazo, man. Entonces, igual, y es súper difícil, la verdad, es un buen clear, man.
Mac, which was the first shmup that you ever played, if you remember?
Oh, okay. So I was actually thinking about this question, and there's sort of two answers. So the technical answer, if this counts, is the very first shmup I ever played was when you played Mario Land on the Game Boy, and you get the shmup stages.
Yeah, true.
Oh,
yeah.
That counts. That is the very first
Yeah,
shmup
yeah,
I
of
ever
course.
played, and I
count
really
it.
love those stages. And I remember thinking, like, they need more of these, like, whatever the plane stages going. So that, I guess, like, technically, that's probably the very first shmup I ever played. But the very first shmup I ever, like, understood as a shmup and played was Raiden. And not only was Raiden the first shmup I ever played, but I thought it was, like, the shmup. I thought, like, Raiden is the shmup, and so everything else was just a Raiden clone, and anything else that looked like Raiden, this is when I was younger, I thought, oh, they're trying to be Raiden. So
Okay.
I don't know why I thought this, maybe because it's the first shmup I played, and it was in the arcade. I thought, yeah, Raiden was definitely the shmup for me for many, many years. Like, if I thought of a shmup, I thought of Raiden.
Le preguntamos cuál fue el primer shmup que jugó y él dice que recuerda como que el primer recuerdo que tiene relación de shmup es jugando en la pantalla del Mario Land en la Game Boy, que había una pantalla con la navecita ahí disparando, y luego dice que él entendido como shmup, entendió que era el Raiden 1, y entonces ese fue como el primer shmup conceptuado como shmup para él, y que después lo demás era como una copia del Raiden. Entonces él entendía como el primer shmup que entendió como el concepto del juego de shmups fue el Raiden 1. Okay, you say something about your starting with the fighting game, but which other kind of games do you like to play actually, Mark?
Well, one of my favorite genres for many years was actually beat 'em ups. And so for a long time, like when I went to the arcade growing up and everything, the two genres that I actually cared about, shmups was not one of them. It was either beat 'em ups or fighting games. So I was really into those for many, many years. And then the thing that I kind of liked the most, as far as that would be even remotely shmupish, I mean, I played Raiden, but I usually played Raiden at the end when I just wanted to burn credits real fast, was Metal Slug. So Metal Slug was a huge one that I really liked. I think that was sort of also the linchpin game for me from going from beat 'em ups and fighting games into shmups.
And running
It's kind
guns.
of like a running gun because like a halfway between the two.
Mhm.
So I have a real fondness for those genres, arcade genres, and especially beat 'em ups, running guns, and shmups. Those are definitely my favorites.
Lo que,
And light gun games too. And light gun games.
like The
And I
House of the
just-
Dead or Time Crisis.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice clear Time Crisis.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
nice.
For me, Time Crisis or The House of Dead are very, very difficult. Very difficult
Yeah.
games. We're going to check some of your videos in the interview. So, I'm going to translate this. Le preguntamos qué otros géneros jugaba, qué otros géneros le gustaba. Y bueno, nos dijo que le gustaban los beaten up, los fighting games, que él entendía los arcades como beaten up, fighting games. A lo último se acordó que también le gustaban los light gun, lo de que le disparás a la pantalla, tipo de House of the Dead, Time Crisis y todo eso, que se hizo el clear del Time Crisis, ojo, que para mí es tremendo juego, dificilísimo. Y luego también que le gustan los run and gun, pero en especial el Metal Slug es el que más o menos
el
Metal Slug, sí.
Bridge fue el puente entre los shoot 'em ups y los beat 'em ups, por así decirlo. Fue lo que lo dirigió también.
Y ahora voy a la siguiente pregunta. Vamos a preguntarle sobre el Shmup Arc, que él siempre lo promociona en su página y todo, que nos cuente cómo funciona el emulador, que también le funciona y por qué lo elige. Mark, why do you choose Shmup Arc for the emulation, and why are you working on Shmup Arc? We saw your last video about the last version. Can you tell us why you choose Shmup Arc, or why we have to choose Shmup Arc to play Shmups?
Yeah, no problem. So it actually has a pretty complicated history and some drama involved when I first came up with the idea. But basically what it was is, okay, before I was really into playing shmups and everything like that, I also had a pretty strong interest in speedrunning Super Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with
Nice
Super
one.
Metroid speedrunning for me for a long time was that a lot of the emulators, a lot of the standalone emulators just were too laggy, like SNES 9X or whatever. I could tell because Super Metroid has a lot of certain moments and moves and tricks where you gotta be right on point with the timing, and if you have input lag, it's just a complete nightmare. And so over the course of many years, I had sort of had a quest to find, okay, how do we get this input lag on emulation as low as possible so I can speedrun Super Metroid? And so that's actually how I found Run Ahead and RetroArch and that whole concept was for Super Metroid. And then at the same time, I was playing on Final Burn Alpha. I wasn't playing on MAME. I know every shmup player plays on MAME, and MAME's like the emulator, but I actually first started on Final Burn Alpha, and I was noticing, wait a minute, you can run Final Burn Alpha in RetroArch, and then you can use Run Ahead on top of that, and then you can get really, really low input lag for a lot of these games. And for a while there, especially, a lot of games, even now, emulate with a good amount of input lag, like Battle Garega has a bunch of input lag, Batrider. Donabachi, not too bad, especially if you play in low latency MAME or Shmup MAME and all that sort of stuff. And everyone was using Shmup MAME, but I thought Shmup MAME is really cool, but RetroArch has all these other features, and then also just the whole ability to get Garega and Batrider and like Mars Matrix and a lot of these laggier ones, even in Shmup MAME, to get them really, really low. And I just personally have a strong distaste for input lag, and so
Yeah.
it was my quest.
We
to
see
get input
those
lag.
on your videos. You always talking
Yes.
about the input lag and
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I hate the 5
Yes.
frames of input lag. Okay, it's good, but 5 frames is my
Yes.
limit. No negotiation.
So,
Yes.
so do you think you can even go lower than the original PCBs on
Yes, you
Shmup
can.
Arc?
Oh yeah, absolutely you can.
And if you do that, isn't that like cheating? Would you say?
I wrote this. That's a great question. I need to do a whole formal video about this because I wrote an article about it forever ago. In my personal opinion, I wouldn't say so. Now, I would be willing to sort of negotiate with, if there was some sort of body of shmup rules, which there isn't. A lot of people don't know, but
We can
if there
create one.
was, if there was one, I'd be willing to meet the requirement. Like, let's say someone said only the original input lag of the PCB is allowed. If you go under that, you're now breaking the rules. I would argue against that for some reasons, but even if you made that rule and everyone said, okay, then you land with a really big problem, which is, what is the input lag of all these original PCBs? You can have like a few of them that people know because they're crazy enough to test it and everything, but for the vast majority of shmups, we actually don't know. Like, how much input lag does GRACIAS actually have? People think 4 frames, but no one has a formal test for that. And so then you think about it in terms of, okay, the overall concept of emulating shmups and playing them competitively. Yes, MAME basically is unable to get below that input lag for now, but in the future, that may not be the case. In the future, MAME itself may introduce a feature such as run ahead or more latency reduction. And also, there are certain ports that are actually faster than the PCBs. So Futari, you can get that down to 2 frames of input lag if you use the settings in Futari. GRACIAS on PS4 is actually more responsive. GRACIAS on Saturn, again, people think is actually more responsive than the PCB. So as crazy as it sounds, stuff being faster than the PCB isn't always just shmup arch. You could actually get that in some other cases as well. So that would be my argument for why a low input lag wouldn't necessarily be cheating. Though I could see in some cases where that you like maybe GRACIAS people would specifically want you to play at a certain amount of input lag that would match the PCB or match the PS4 version because the PS4 version's faster, the Saturn version. But I think just overall, I wouldn't agree that it's cheating, but I think there hasn't been like a real in-depth decision because there are no real in-depth decisions on these types of questions with shmups.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would lawyer up for it forever. Like I would, whatever it would take, I would show up on the case and argue, no, it's not cheating.
Nice. Okay, tenemos que traducir. We have to translate this. Empecemos, muchachos. ¿Por qué empezó con el tema del Shmup Park? Que había surgido de la necesidad del speedrun del Super Metroid.
Super Metroid.
Sí.
Sí, él estaba buscando una alternativa para jugar el Super Metroid, porque los emuladores de ese momento tenían muchísimo lag. Y luego se encontró con RetroArch y el Final Burn Neo. Y creo que con eso pudo usar lo que se llama Frame Ahead, que es para bajar el input lag. Es una forma de emulación que ayuda a bajar mucho el input lag. Y eso lo ayudó mucho, y eso también lo llevó también a usar lo mismo en los shmups.
Sí, y el para que no sepa también es que Mark en sus videos de YouTube analiza mucho el tema del input lag, de los frames. Él usa su setup para medir el input lag, usa pantallas RT, o sea, él es un tipo muy comedido, muy delicado en todo ese tema del input lag. Es alguien que le interesa mucho el tema, entonces cuando un juego viene con mucho input lag, él lo dice, lo nombra, lo deja todos claro, entonces está bueno para cuando nosotros como consumidores vamos a comprar una versión determinada, ya sepamos de esto es jugable o esto no es jugable, porque parece o no, el input lag es muy importante dentro de lo que son los STG, y te puede 3 frames a 5 frames de input lag hacen la diferencia. Entonces yo sé que Mark es muy medido, estricto, muy estricto en lo que es el tema del input lag.
También habló de se me fue el nombre, del input lag, de que se puede reducir en emulación, reducir nombrando, por ejemplo, el input lag original de las placas de los PCBs. Entonces estaba hablando de hasta qué punto, fue la pregunta que le hizo Ram, hasta qué punto eso es trampa o hacer cheating.
Claro, como que porque se puede tener menos input lag que una placa original.
Exactamente.
Y Rama le preguntó hasta qué punto eso es trampa o no. Y él cree que no.
Y cree que no, y además dijo que tiene un artículo que escribió que luego podría ser un video hablando mucho más de esto, porque no hay reglas en el mundo de los shooters, no hay reglas de ni mierda. O sea,
y ahí puso ejemplos de domésticos, del Battle Garega de Saturn, de Play 4,
Correcto.
Como que se diferencian. Entonces él defiende como que no es cheating, no es trampa. Ok,
Exactamente.
Vamos para la próxima pregunta, ¿les parece? Yo sé que Mark tiene como mucho amor en los fighting games, entonces quiero a ver qué tal le parece, qué encuentra él en común las dos comunidades y los dos géneros más que nada. Okay, Mark, I have a question. You love fighting games, I think. You keep playing or you keep touching the fighting games. But it's a genre that you love, or you always loved the fighting games. I know a lot of people that play fighting games and play shmup. That like the two genres are very had a lot of common. So I want to ask you, what do you think games fighting games and shmups have in common?
Yeah, so I actually have been thinking about this question a lot recently, and I think I've had a little bit more insight than I had in the past on the two and why there seems to be a crossover. Because when I first started playing shmups, after playing, years of fighting games and competing in fighting games, I would say that really a lot of those skills from fighting games don't necessarily translate over to shmups.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I remember trying to incorporate some fighting game techniques. Like I was trying to play footsies with hibachi and shit, and it just was not working. I was trying all these different like strategies that you use in fighting games. They don't really translate over to shmups. So for a long time, I wondered, okay, there is something between the two. What is it? Because it's not necessarily the same skill set. And there's sort of the more surface stuff, like they're both arcade-based genres. You use an arcade stick for both, typically, that type of stuff. But I actually think the underlying thing between the two of them that is appeal across both is that since they are both arcade genres, they're both about instant gratification, instantly getting into the game. There's not a whole lot of fluff, and then just the rewards that you feel both games. So when you get a clear in a shmup, inside you feel like a rush, like an adrenaline pump, like, yes, this is awesome. There's sort of more meaning with the gameplay in a shmup. Same thing with a fighting game. When you win a match, when you win a tournament, you get a real rush, not just it's just a little bit different than other genres, like maybe like an RPG or something where it's fun, it's cozy, but you don't beat an RPG and like pop off. I guess maybe some people might, but you're not like, fuck yeah, I beat the final boss, and you're just like pumped. But I think that's the crossover between the two that people really like, is you get that real hit of adrenaline between both genres, because the gameplay hits you. It makes you sad in real life, and it makes you mad in real life. And it just, I think that's the reason there's a lot of crossover between the two.
It's very emotional. Yeah, it's very emotional. Now you think about it. I never thought about it, but now, yeah, it's really emotional. Every time you play ups, and get into it, like, sometimes you are so exhausted playing the same thing all over, and I mean, it's kind of a mind fuck basically. So I don't know. It makes sense that you're mentioning like it is really passionate about it.
Vamos a traducir porque si no se nos va a ir mucho inglés. Lo que decía Mark de las cosas que encontraba en común es que como que él quiso llevar esas técnicas del fighting game, por ejemplo los futsi, que los futsi es cuando dos contrincantes se están midiendo y se tiran golpes y se miden, no se tocan, o eso, como esa que se miden uno a otro, eso futsi, por ejemplo, el fighting game. Y Mark como que quiso llevar esas técnicas y ha pensado mucho en la pregunta esta de los fighting game relacionados a los shmup, y que la verdad que esas técnicas cuando la intentó llevar a los shmup como que no le salió, ¿verdad? O cómo fue Rama que dijo.
Sí, dijo que no le funcionaba, pero lo que él considera que tiene mucho en común el tema de los shmups y los fighting games es que tienen ese, ¿cómo sería? El reward que te dan.
La satisfacción.
La satisfacción, pero instantánea, digamos. Y que no es que están en otros juegos. Por ejemplo, si uno juega, no sé, un RPG o lo que sea, tardás un año en tener algo de satisfacción, digamos. No te emocionás en ningún momento.
Bueno, te emocionás capaz que, pero de otro punto de vista. Pero no esta emoción rápida de maté este jefe, festejo, como él dijo el ejemplo de Pump Up, eso que se levantan y dicen, la concha de tu madre, te gané. Y esas cosas, ¿no?
Que lo sabemos todos, digamos.
Que esa sensación.
Sí, lo jugamos. Y además, creo que nosotros también jugamos fighting games en general, así que sabemos, digamos, esa sensación también cuando le ganás a alguien que le tenés bronca.
Claro.
Y cómo uno salta.
Y cuando termina con los jefes. Sí, dilo.
Por eso le dije que era algo muy emocional, porque yo no lo había pensado de esa forma, pero sí hay mucha emoción de por medio, de que a veces uno está cansado, estoy harto de hacer esta mierda todas las veces y después me alegro porque avancé, mae, pero o sea, en serio es mucha la alegría, o sea, cuando terminas, haces el primer 1cc, mae, te sentís súper poderoso después de haber
Claro,
pasado 75 horas dándole a Chigawinga, me explico,
claro. Sí, sí, sí.
es esa sensación, ese
¿Qué le ibas a
sentimiento, mae.
preguntar, Rama? No se te escucha, estás muteado.
Se te fue el
Iba,
audio.
iba a mencionar también que nosotros jugamos Fighting Game, pero bueno, no importa. Ahí
Bueno,
le pregunto la siguiente pregunta.
dale, dale. Preguntale nomás si querés.
Bueno, la siguiente pregunta le voy a preguntar es cuál es su logro más grande en relación a los videojuegos. So, Mark, what is your greatest achievement in gaming?
That's a great question. So I've been thinking about it a bit
I
because it
love
is kind
I
of
love
hard
when
to
you
pin
say
down.
great question because we did it good. It's
Yes.
like, yeah, we did.
Yes.
Thank you,
That
Mike.
is a good question. In Shmups, it's easily my Dononpachi to all, which took for frickin' ever to do, and oh my god, that was a hell of an undertaking. I don't know though if that's better than I've won some melee tournaments and things like that. I've won some fighting game tournaments. So sometimes I said wonder because it took me years to get to that point in fighting games to start winning tournaments and beating people in real life and having them come to my town and like defend it and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a little bit divided. I would say though, like in my soul, probably still the Dononpachi to all because that was personally harder for me to do than to win fighting game tournaments. Like the amount of just sheer dedication it took to get that freaking to all was brutal. And some days I was like, I don't want to play Dononpachi, but I must continue. And it felt like I would never get it. It really felt like I'm never going to get this freaking clear. It's never going to happen. So yeah, definitely. And I popped off so hard when I got the clear. I threw my stick. It wasn't on stream because I didn't have a camera on me, but like my stick went flying. And then if you look at the replay, my hands are shaking so bad I don't even enter my name correctly. So it's MSY. It's not even MSX because I couldn't get to the X correctly. So my hands were like, ugh. So that one's probably it. The Grega clear was pretty hard too, but I definitely don't Apache to all.
O sea que los dos loops de Don Pachi es el logro más grande que tuvo en los gaming, ¿no? Y que contó la previa de que en los Fighting Game estuvo años entrenando y jugando para llegar a un lugar en el que pudo vencer a gente buena
Sí,
y eso.
jugando Melee, jugando
Jugando
Smash.
Smash. Y bueno, que al final el logro más grande es ese, ¿no? El de Don Pachi, los dos loops.
Sí,
Sí,
y que
fue un logro muy grande.
en el momento que lo sacó, que estaba temblando, que ni siquiera pudo poner su nombre bien.
Claro, nos reímos de eso, porque en vez de poner
Sí.
MSX puso MSY.
Sí.
Porque estaban las manos temblando y le daba mala. No, me vas a acordar cuando me hice yo me rompía el jefe final del True Las Voz del Gigawin. Son como esas sensaciones de que si nunca
Esa
más lo voy a hacer.
sensación, exacto.
Pero bueno, que Tropi no la conoce porque todavía no se unció nada el pobre, pero bueno, nada.
Papi, hay videos ricos.
Okay. I am joking that STG Cvlt, he doesn't know that feeling of the one clear or one.
He's messing up with me saying that I don't have clears, but of course I do.
But I have the PCBs. I don't have clear, but I have PCBs.
I don't have the clears, but I have the money.
I have the money.
Gigawin, he's talking about Gigawin like, I don't know, for a year now. It's like, yeah, dude, I made a clear of Gigawin my first time. It took me like 80 hours. It's like, nobody cares, Gordo. I mean, seriously, nobody cares. You don't have to put it on the resume.
I don't have the clear, but I can buy the clear. I have the money to buy the clear.
I can
I'm
buy
pretty
the
sure
clear,
that's the way
man.
it works. I'm pretty sure if you buy the PCB, you just get the clear. Like, it's part of the certificate. Like you open the casing and it's just there. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's there.
Here's your clear.
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay. What are your next gaming goals, Mark?
Right now, I am knee deep in getting the Ketsui Emote clear. So I'm really going for that. And that'll probably take me up until mid of next year to try and get that. And then after that, I definitely am going to return to Dononpachi. I'm going to try to get a big old score with AL and try and join sort of the bigger scores of the Western players because that's been a long time goal of mine. So I'm taking a break on Ketsui trying to get that emote, and then once I get that, I'm coming back to DDP trying to get a big old DDP score.
No, nice.
Who is,
Pará, no te apures, déjame traducir esto rápido. Que le pregunté cuáles eran sus próximas metas en videojuegos y dijo, ¿cuál es el modo rama del Ketsui que quiere hacer?
Quiere hacer un clear del Ketsui, que es Omote, que es el clear que uno saca para poder entrar al segundo loop
Al segundo loop.
del Ketsui.
Ujú.
Uno necesita usar menos de 7 bombas o vidas combinados
Ah, claro. Vale.
para poder activar el segundo loop.
Y después
eso es lo que quiere
de
sacar.
hacer, dijo que eso le iba a llevar hasta mediados del año que viene.
Y creo que principio del año que viene, dijo.
Vamos, que
Ahí
se va a echar
creo
su
que
tiempo
perdí.
y que después vuelve
No, dijo mediados del otro
mediados del
año.
año que viene.
Sí.
Bueno, y después dijo que iba a volver a jugar Dodonpachi
Dodonpachi.
con la nave que es la AL, que es
Ujú.
la
Dale,
roja,
que es láser.
que es láser, y que quiere meterse en el grupo de los jugadores con muchos puntos de, digamos, los western.
Claro, los westerns, sí,
Mi
occidentales.
siguiente pregunta sobre eso, por eso lo iba a hacer de una vez,
Sí, dale.
es ¿quién es
Hacésela.
el actual, sí, pero para decirle a los hispanos, papi, tranquilo, mi amor.
Sí,
relájense,
perdón,
papi.
tengo que cumplir con
Mi
producción
amor,
acá,
tranquilo, tómate el
perdóname.
matecito ahí, rico,
No me lo hizo,
rico
por eso
mate.
estoy nervioso.
Para preguntarle quién es el actual récord, el número uno del lado nuestro, del lado del oeste. Hey Mark, who is the current record holder of the Western community, actually, of DDP?
The big Jamers, the previous guest on your show.
Yeah.
Jamers with
Jesus.
a huge big old score with CL. And then Blaquisto, I think, has the highest. It's either or might still be Prometheus that might still have the highest AL score, and he's just this close away from a 600 mil with AL. So I'd be playing in the AL category, trying to perhaps match a certain score by Prometheus.
That would be
That would
nice.
be
You can get
an undertaking.
you can get Jamers down. I mean,
yeah, no problem. Jamers, no problem. his score is pretty impressive. It's beatable, but I don't know if by me anytime soon. But it is impressive score. And I know Jamers is has said his Dodonpachi score is one of the toughest scores he's ever gotten, and the game is just made. What's cool about Dodonpachi is it destroys players. It crushes their souls in a way I've never seen other shmups do. Like most Dodonpachi players, they play it and then they're like, they just quit the genre or whatever happens to them. It just eats players alive. So
yeah, the chaining is really strict. Even if you try to do chaining on the first stage, like man, like I'm just failing with the first two enemies I see on the screen. Is difficult, man. So yeah, I hope you get it, Mark.
Porque el récord lo tiene Jamer, dijo, ¿no?
El récord lo tiene Jamers. Luego sigue Blaquisto y también Prometheus. Y nada, dice que va a practicar para estar muy cerca al score de Blaquisto. Pero que nada, que el score de Jamers fue algo muy difícil que Jamers dice que fue algo muy difícil de conseguir y que tiene sentido.
Sí, nos dijo a nosotros
se puede hacer,
fue lo más difícil en los Shmups, sí, eso dijo.
Okay.
Su logro más complicado fue el récord de Dodonpachi.
Vale. Vamos a preguntarle a ver si en un futuro se ve como youtuber a full time. Y ya de paso, porque me pregunta por el chat que no le preguntamos, creo que de dónde es él, dónde vive, o más adelante ya se lo íbamos a preguntar cuando hablamos de la comunidad. Mark, are you planning to be a full-time YouTuber?
That's a cool question. So that's an interesting question because in some ways I sort of am, where I work my, IRL job, but I do consider my YouTube channel my second job. So I have two jobs basically. And I don't make a vast amount of money on YouTube or anything, but the amount of stuff that I get back, like through the Patreon and through just whatever YouTube, the ad money from YouTube, actually does affect my real life finances to some degree.
Okay.
So I am sort of in a weird way like a low tier full-time YouTuber as far as yeah, I'll be doing it for a very long time because it does actually influence my finances to some degree these days. Though I still have my full-time job, and I will work my full-time job at minimum at least 7 more years. So I'll probably be in the state that you see in now, hopefully increasing in popularity and stuff. But yeah, so in some ways I sort of am a full-time YouTuber. It's like my second job though, instead of my first job. But I do consider it like my job, where it's not like a lot of people have said that their YouTube channels are hobbies and things like that. At this point, the Electric Underground has crossed the hobby tier because of the Patreon and just because of like the amount of work it takes to keep going. And also like my personal, my friends and family like recognize now that the channel's like a real thing. Like, oh, it's like a real thing you do, and people actually enjoy what you do. It's like a real thing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, in some ways I'm sort of like a full-time YouTuber in that sense though, but I'm not. I wish I could be though. I really wish I could be like whatever the bigger YouTubers that all they do is just make YouTube videos, and then I could make videos complaining about that. Be like, motherfuckers, I have to wake up and make YouTube videos every day. You know how hard this shit is? I can't wait for that day. But until then, I have to do my IRL job and then this. But I do both, and I do consider it like a job.
Lo que dice Mark es que le preguntamos si full-time YouTuber, ¿no? O sea, a tiempo completo cuando él se vería. Y él dice que él ya lo es porque el YouTube es como su segundo trabajo. Él tiene su trabajo en la vida real y también como se toma como segundo trabajo YouTube, porque le está dejando un dinero que es importante, ¿no? Y que quieras o no, ese dinero, por más que no le dará capaz a completar todo un mes de su vida normal o cubrir todos los gastos, sí es un dinero importante para decir que le tengo que dedicar a YouTube o no, entre lo que son las publicidades de YouTube y el Patreon, que ahí también tiene mucho apoyo. Entonces, la verdad que él se lo toma como un segundo trabajo, porque ese margen de dinero que le está dejando YouTube es importante para él, más allá de que le gustaría un futuro ser un youtuber completo en el que deje el otro trabajo y hacer videos diciendo, ¡guau! ¿Sabes qué es duro? Es levantarse a hacer videos de YouTube y trabajar, hijos de puta. O sea, lo dijo de esa manera, ¿no, muchachos? ¿O me perdí algo más?
No, sí. Eso
fue lo que
básicamente.
Acá, Mark, where are you from?
From Idaho in the United States.
Ah,
and a lot of people internationally probably have no idea where that is. They're like, oh, what the hell is that? But it's,
I checked the map, man. I have to check the map for the time zones. So.
It's don't even feel bad, because I moved for a while to Illinois. People know where that is more frequently, outside Chicago. And when I would introduce myself, I'd say I'm from Idaho, and almost every single time people would say, Iowa, you mean Iowa, right? It's like, no, there's a state called Idaho, and it's very far away from here. And most people think of it like the potato state. You're it's very agriculture out in the mountains. You know, I'm riding a tractor to school. That's what people think anyway. Yeah, so that's where I'm from.
Ah, vale, que es de Idaho. ¿Cómo se pronuncia, Rama? Que voy a quedar pegadísimo.
Idaho.
Que es uno de los estados, de los 50 estados de Estados Unidos, es un estado que a veces la gente no sabe dónde es, pero bueno, que es de Estados Unidos, de Idaho. Pónganselo en Google, muchachos, ayuden, porque yo no tengo... Yo sé que creo que Nueva York queda por la derecha, Miami por abajo a la derecha y California a la izquierda, no me preguntes más.
Está lo que sería el noroeste de Estados Unidos.
Noroeste de Estados Unidos.
Lo vi en serio para verlo. Las zonas horarias.
Yo le digo a la gente en el chat, ¿viste? Okay. So you had a very difficult time getting up to the interview because the time. I don't know which what time is there.
It's 7 in the morning now.
7 in the morning, 7 de la mañana, como el Tropi, ¿no? Tropi, ¿qué hora hay, Tropi?
Son las 8, aquí van a ser, sí, son las 8 de la mañana ya.
Ah, vale.
Tenemos una hora de diferencia.
¿Qué ibas a decir, Tropi?
Nada, que él también dijo que vive allá arriba, que es una zona de mucha agricultura, que
ahí va.
La zona de las papas, por así decirlo, que la gente cree que él se levanta y se va en un tractor al colegio, que
claro.
Es parte de la broma, pero sí, es una zona alejada, o sea...
Sí, que no es Nueva York, ni las ratas, ni los trenes, o sea, es un pueblo...
No es una gran ciudad,
más...
exacto, no
claro.
es una gran ciudad.
Mark, how do you prepare your YouTube videos?
Well, depending on the video, some of them take a little bit different preparation than others. So any of the ones that I do that are sort of my more typical ones, like when I talk about different topics or when I do reviews or whatever those are getting more and more elaborate as the video quality is increasing. So it's kind of getting more complicated, but sort of the classic approach is I will first sit down, I'll get myself in front of my green screen and just get the raw footage of me ranting on about whatever it is that I'm talking about. And I try to do them in sort of these big, long takes. And sometimes I have to do these little techniques like where if I'm talking and I stumble over my words, I immediately have to like reset back, like save state, load state back to what I was saying before and try and reproduce that in real time. That's a little editing trick so that you're not constantly stopping and starting. And then I take that and I put it into my video editor. Then I go through and I chop out all of the stuff that was me going off on some tangents, which happens all the time, or me saying things I'm like, I could say that better, or me stumbling over words. And so I go through and I cut that up, and then I take that and then I clean up all the audio for that. And then I go ahead and put that in my video editor, do the green screen effects, and then comes the second journey of getting the background footage of whatever the hell I'm talking about. So playing the games, recording that, chopping that up, doing all that fun stuff. And then to get the third layer where I add like the visual elements into the videos where if I say something that like a GIF appears there, or if I specifically mention on stage 3, watch out for this section where the boss shoots the bullet. And then I have to find a bit of footage of stage 3 of the boss shooting the bullet and then show that on screen so to contextualize everything. So there's like 3 layers of video editing that go into the videos.
Vale, que dice que hay 3 capas, 3 procesos para sus vídeos, que es el primero que se sienta a hablar, ¿no? Que pone la cámara, se pone a hablar, luego lo lleva al editor, hace esos cortes, los chops, ¿no? Que él específicamente dijo. Evalúa qué se pone de fondo y luego en la tercer capa, layer, pone lo que son lo estético, las imágenes, buscar determinado fragmento de tal juego para mostrar y esas cosas, ¿no?
Sí, correcto.
Sí,
vale.
También dijo que va...
Sí.
¿Cómo es? Que graba de nuevo algunas partes, digamos,
Vale.
que tiene que regrabar.
Mark, you do a very great job because I thought that you make the videos in one take. You're talking, but because you have very good and a lot of art of the communication and the talking. You like, you know how to talk constantly, but
yes.
No, but you have that art of making the talking of a video game very, very fresh. And very long. You make like a lot of content with you talking, so I think that you do it great because I thought that they were made in one take. I didn't see the chops on the video. Seriously.
Yeah. So really early on in the channel, they were literally one takers where I would actually just do it all in one take. So some of my older videos literally are me in one take, but I learned like over the course of podcasting and stuff, if you can cut down even just little things like or repeated sentences or just even small pauses where I sit and think like, what do I want to say? If you can get those chopped down, it just really, and like condense it nicely down, it just really enhances the experience for the viewers. But if you compare my videos to like other YouTube videos where like every 5 seconds, they're like, and then we went to the store, cut, and I bought my dog, cut. Oh my God, I said, cut. Like, like some videos, like every 3 seconds they have a cut. Where me, probably sometimes I can get like a whole 4-minute chunk without a cut or whatever. Like there's less cuts in my videos. And also the green screen helps sort of conceal them too, because of my setup, I actually sort of have to hold still. I can't be too all over the place. And so sometimes, like it's even me video editing, like the cuts are very hard to detect because I'm like holding position pretty consistently.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah.
So they're pretty tricky to pick up on, but I really wish I could say I could talk perfectly every single time without ever having to do re-edits and stuff, but I can't. There was one guy that I interviewed on the podcast who literally seemed to be able to do that, where normally on the podcasts, I go through and I sort of clean up what the people say and if they're ums and uhs and their repeated sentences. It was the CEO of EXA. That dude never repeated words. He never had pauses. He never said
I
It was
listen
he was
that.
reading from the
Yeah,
script.
very fluid.
He's got some really impressive skills in that regard.
Que
But I'm trying to get there as far as like it's a skill that I literally practice or talking quickly. If you go and look to my earlier videos, you'll notice my pace of speech has increased a lot over the years. So I learned, okay, the meta on YouTube is you need to talk faster.
Yeah.
So sometimes the toughest part of my videos literally is getting my mouth to keep up on the pace of the, whatever I'm trying to think and say and trying to keep them going. Sometimes that can be, it almost feels like sometimes like it's like you're practicing for like debate or rap or whatever. We have to go really, really fast. Like it's a skill I've actually had to practice, like literally practice.
Yeah, but you do it very, very well.
Now, have you played and talk at the same time, like doing a clear run and to be like conscious of what you're saying and try to clear, like doing the clear and everything is really hard. Just thinking about it, it is really annoying. Like trying to like really talk about like and make sense of the time while you're trying to dodge like in a heavy pattern. It is seriously annoying. It's really hard to do.
Yes, it is.
Ok, lo que dijo Mark es que sus videos yo le estaba elogiando la manera en la que... Porque él dice que, bueno, en ese proceso, ¿no? En el que corta y todo, yo le estaba elogiando la manera en que él habla y comunica en sus videos, porque la verdad que yo no notaba yo pensé que los hacía en una sola toma. En una sola toma hacía todo el video, pero en verdad él corta y eso y queda muy bien. Pero dice que sus videos al comienzo, a los primeros los hacía en una toma sola y después empezó a recortar y que se notaban como los cortes y nada, que ahora está como muy evolucionado y bueno, porque fue aprendiendo, ¿no? Al final de esto trata de ir haciendo e ir aprendiendo. Y que luego dice que en su podcast también él corta los los y esos soniditos, ¿no? Como esas mermas que quedan en un podcast, en un audio, lo que sea. Y él lo que hace, lo que se sorprendió de que el CEO del Exa Arcadia es que Exa Arcade o Arcadia, no me acuerdo el nombre, que son las placas estas nuevas, que el tipo tenía el arte de no dejar tiempos muertos ni nada. Bueno, nada, que tenía esa habilidad. Now do you know, Mark, why he is working in the position of CEO of the Ex Arcade? Because he talks like that and he is doing por eso, claro, trabaja en eso. Ok. Next question.
Déjame que le haga la siguiente pregunta.
Dale.
Hey, Mark, I know that you started developing your own game. What can you tell us about the game and what is? What's the incentive also to start with that?
Yeah, so the whole idea behind the game, I'm calling it House of Bullets, is I wanted to see what would happen if you make a shmup that just never stops. Because what I find myself doing in a lot of shmups, especially like the slower paced ones, is using the fast forward feature in RetroArch to like get the game to move faster, because like sometimes you have just seconds where you're just sort of waiting for things to happen, like boss loading screens or stage transitions. And then also I thought, it's sort of like common, I guess, whatever accepted design of shmups that you have a wave and then you give yourself like a 2-second break, and then you have another wave and give yourself a 2-second break. And I've noticed, like, in some of the later cave shmups, and especially in the higher difficulties, like, the games just never stop. Pretty much, they just keep going all the time. So I thought, what if you took this to the next level where the game literally never stops, like, ever? You can't ever stop. You can't take your hand off the arcade stick for 20 minutes straight. And I actually don't know what's going to happen as far as the player's psyche with that. But that's the idea behind the game. And also, another thing about the game is I wanted to take the sort of Japanese style of shmup design, which is more enemies, lower HP, and push that to an extreme too. So let's add more and more enemies. And at the first stage, I already have stage 1 done. The enemy count on stage 1 is absolutely absurd when you look at it in like the viewer. I am sure by the time this game is done, the enemy count will be the highest in shmup history. It's just a massive pile of enemies that never stop coming. And so, and like the mantra is, if there's ever like balancing, it's just, do we add more enemies or not? It's like, just add more enemies. Like never increase health, right?
So,
Because the Euro shmup design is sort of like low enemy count, high health. I'm reversing that. Just add more enemies, more. And I kind of got that inspiration from Ninja Gaiden 2 on the Xbox 360, where I could literally tell the guy was probably just sitting in the developing room, like, add more enemies, add more, keep going. I don't care if it destroys the Xbox 360. I don't care if it explodes. Add more enemies. And so that's sort of the idea behind the game.
how do you find time to work on that? Because you have your YouTube video, you have your full-time job, development, and also gaming. You're doing that all the time.
Well,
do you sleep?
Well, no. No, I don't.
Okay.
That's the answer.
¿Qué preguntaste, Rama? Traducime todo porque me estoy perdido.
No, lo que pregunté primero es que él está desarrollando un videojuego.
Sí.
Y le pregunté qué lo llevaba a desarrollar ese videojuego. Y es algo que él quiere hacer, de poner un juego donde básicamente no te paren de disparar. Que te estén disparando constantemente, que tenga un nivel de dificultad alto. Y es porque a él le gusta, porque siempre se encuentran emuladores, por ejemplo, en las partes donde el juego se vuelve más lento, se encuentra acelerando el juego para llegar a la parte que a él lo divierte, básicamente. Entonces está haciendo algo que a él lo divierte. Se llama House of Bullets, el juego que está desarrollando.
Y que se inspiró también en el concepto del Ninja Gaiden 2 de 360, donde aparecen enemigos y enemigos y enemigos.
Sí, sí.
Que es eso lo que quiere. Y después le preguntaste dónde sacaba el tiempo para hacer todas estas tareas, ¿no? Y dijo que no duerme.
Sí, que no duerme.
Ok. Voy a la próxima pregunta entonces. Vamos a preguntarle a ver sobre la comunidad. Vamos a pasar al tema de comunidad. Mark, is any local community near in your living place? About Shmups? No.
Any local Shmup community?
I think the closest will be is that next year I plan to do Shmup Slam, but live. And so I want to have people come to Idaho. This will be a great experiment to see if I can pull this off.
The Evo on the Shmups.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Like an Evo,
Yeah, you know what's actually funny is when I first started, back when Evo was still around and still sort of popular, I tried to organize Evo Shmup meetup. Like people go to Evo and then meet up there to play Shmups as well as fighting games, obviously.
Ah, nice.
And everyone I asked was like, So I could never get that to happen. But that was an idea at one point. But actually, now I've actually much more excited about having like my own dedicated event. And I have some experience with like sort of like finding venues and all that sort of stuff because of fighting games. So I'm excited to give this a try next year to see how it goes. And I'm just curious to see how many people will come. It mimight literally be like me and 3 other people. Who knows?
That's sick. That's really ambitious, man. I will definitely go. I mean, I will go for sure.
So Tropi is going to the event. But you have like a big your own community, so it's international. Maybe there are going to be a lot of people right there with the with the holidays and the money, they can go there and play the Shmups and make. I'm sure that it's going to be good. I think it's going to be well.
There are some players in this Western scene that are not that far away from me. I think Kiwi is pretty close, so hopefully I can get Kiwi to show up because he actually is just a state or 2 over from me. And I think some people on like the California type, California is actually not that far away from Idaho, so they might be able to make it. And actually what's kind of funny is Idaho isn't directly in the middle of the United States, but it isn't coastal, so it's sort of like not a bad place for people to come.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll pan out. I'm not guaranteeing people will show up, but if all else fails, you'll see me in like this nice venue just standing there like, hey, I tried. But
nice.
Now that you mentioned that, how you think you will pull that off? Are you gonna put arcades? Are you gonna just put TVs and PS4s? What's the deal?
Right. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and there's a a European event that they used to do. I don't know if they're still doing it, but Stunfest, where they had all these bitchin' arcade machines and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, I cannot make that happen. You can play my PGM, but as far as like all these awesome cabinets and everything, I just can't pull that off. So what I'm gonna do is there's just gonna be a crap load of, like you said, like a crap load of PCs, basically, consoles. I try to get people to bring, like, I have an Xbox, I have 2 Xbox 360s, just all that sort of crap. Just try and get as much of that in there as possible.
That's good.
But unfortunately, there's just no way I have the means to get all these bitchin' arcade cabinets, even though that would be cool.
That would be amazing. If you need if you can get a cab or something and you need boards, I can definitely fly it out and with a couple boards and put something in there. But just in case, I mean, that's cool.
Nada, lo que le preguntamos, ya más o menos me olvidé, pero lo que le preguntamos fue que si tenía gente, comunidad cerca de donde él vive, dijo que no. Y bueno, él está planeando para el año que viene hacer un evento presencial en el que se hagan runs y todo eso. Y nada, que va a ver si seguramente va a encontrar gente dentro de Estados Unidos que vaya. Parece que Kiwi está cerca, que Kiwi es el que tiene el récord del Mushihime-sama, ¿no? Del Mushihime-sama.
Sí.
Y bueno, nada, que él quiere armar su evento presencial y acá el Tropi que le ofrece, que va a ir seguro y que le ofrece placas y eso. Bueno, el Tropi de la gente.
El Tropi va en su avión privado.
El Tropi va in the private airplane with the PCB. Call me, Mark. I'm going. Okay. Mark, how do you see the community? What do you think about the future of the community of the Shmups?
That's a deep one. That's like one of the deepest ones. Well, the first thing that I would say, just being sort of involved in all this as long as I have been, is that there really isn't necessarily this one big old pile of players that is the Shmup community. As much as I would love that to be the case, it's actually quite a bit more fragmented than that. Even among Western players, it's still kind of a bit more fragmented than that. But what I'm hoping will happen is that it's definitely growing. Like, the amount of people that are interested in the genre is definitely growing. A few years ago, everyone was saying, no, it's done. Shmups are dead. Call it a day. Let's all move on and play RPGs or whatever we're going to do. But I was saying, no. It's going to grow. And I think now it's pretty undisputed that it is growing quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think as it grows, it's just going to start coming closer together just out of sheer numbers. Like, more people are just going to start congregating together. So I'm actually really optimistic. But as far as certain things, though, are going to be a real challenge. And I actually don't have the answer. Like, we're talking before about, is run-ahead cheating, is using a fast input lag, is that cheating or not? That is just a small fraction of many of the questions that we have to answer as far as competitive play. And that list is massive. I mean, that's just one of hundreds of things. And I don't really know what the future is with that as far as like competitive play, how we're going to keep track of scores, how we're going to determine world records. All that is still super up in the air, I think.
Yeah.
So I think based on that, I mean, that's a small fraction of the community, basically. I mean,
yeah,
because not all of the Shmup players are actually like trying to compete. That makes sense. I mean, they just want to try out the game, have fun, everything. Shmup is really challenging and actually challenged you, which is, I mean, I really like that part of the Shmups. It is me against the machine, right? So if you're up to compete, that's cool. But for me, like, part of the community is just like get in touch with each other and just talk about it and make it grow. So that's the good part of it. And for the ones that actually have the skill to compete, that's something that definitely you want to develop. Like, all right, what are the guidelines, right? I mean, how can we make it happen? But that's really cool. I mean, there's more people going to the competitions, try to compete and everything. But there's a lot of people getting into the genre actually trying to have fun, which is, for me, seeing that growing is really, really amazing right now.
Yeah.
Le preguntamos
back in
a
the
Mark
no.
sobre la comunidad, si cómo la ve y cómo ve en el futuro, y Mark ve como que hay un crecimiento. Además, Mark tiene un feedback directo sobre su canal de YouTube, o sea, yo supongo que él ve el crecimiento por donde está yendo el tema de la comunidad de los Shmups, pero dice como que no hay una comunidad sola, sino que la ve como fragmentada y que en el futuro él cree que todo eso se va a unir, pero que él no tiene respuestas a las preguntas y dudas y fragmentaciones que pueden haber en un futuro sobre, por ejemplo, lo que hablamos antes del input lag, si es trampa o no, o cómo se va a considerar los high score, los puntajes altos y bueno, y eso. ¿Algo más que quieras completar, Tropi?
Yo lo que hablé fue como que la comunidad, o sea, hay una parte pequeña que va a querer competir, por así decirlo, que va a querer competir, que tienen la habilidad también y
Sí.
el talento que hablamos en un programa para poder competir, pero también hay otra parte de la comunidad que está creciendo, que es la que
La que
quiere
quiere
probar el
conocer y
género,
probar, sí.
quiere conocer, quiere pasarla bien,
Sí, sí.
y que creo que es válido y bueno que ambas partes existen, digamos,
Sí,
hace
sí,
que
la
la comunidad
verdad,
crezca.
lo lindo sería que todos se unan y bueno, que el común
Exacto,
sea probar y que crezca el género más que fragmentarse de
exactamente.
competimos, no competimos. Un cesiamo, no un
Ujú,
cesiamo, por ejemplo, las discusiones que tenemos todos los días acá
exactamente.
con la boludez. Pero bueno, nosotros lo llevamos bien, por lo menos en lo que es la comunidad española, lo llevamos bien. Acá se juega como se quiere y listo. Y que jodemos de que no un
Exacto.
cesiaste así, bueno, está. Pero mira, el Tropi no un cesea, pero tiene 200.000 placas, o sea, no pasa nada.
Este hijo
Ok.
de puta.
Pero tiene plata.
Pero tiene plata.
Ahí se
No
gana,
lo
ahí
que no
no
me
gana
uncecié,
todo.
me lo compro. Me lo compré. ¿Qué? Que no uncecié qué, me lo compré. Ya está, unceciado.
Este-
Si no lo uncecié, lo compro. No pasa nada. Mark, what do you think about the Spanish community? What is the thing that it goes to your head when I ask you
Oh,
that?
well, I love the Spanish speaking community, and I should be able to speak Spanish. I've had a lifelong quest to try and learn. I've had every opportunity to do so, but I'm a lazy bastard, and so I keep forgetting, and it's too late for me. I'm too lazy to do it. But growing up, you know, my family is Spanish, and then many of my friends growing up bilingual, speaking Spanish. And I know a lot of the fans of the channel are also Spanish. And I think just the Spanish speaking community and me, like, I understand, I think I have a better understanding of the Spanish speaking community than pretty much most other schmupping communities, like the mentality of the players, what they enjoy, and that sort of stuff. Because sometimes, especially with like Japan and stuff, I feel like I can't really understand the Japanese all that well. I know a lot of shmup players are like really into Japanese stuff and they really are into that culture. For me, it's like really hard for me to wrap my head around the way the Japanese like culture works and stuff. But Spanish, that's right up my alley. I mean, I feel like I get the Spanish speaking community much more so in a sort of a bird and feather type thing. So yeah, I'm really excited that people do check out my channel. I feel a little guilty because I don't have a whole lot of bilingual options, but I'll definitely, YouTube hopefully has
But
fairly accurate
but
subtitles. Hopefully,
the Spanish people, especially on Latin America, we are open to the English language. We try
right?
to listen your videos, for example, on English, and we understand, and we can share it. It's not that unfamiliar.
Right.
So I think that I think that you feel so familiar with the Spanish community for that, because we have like similar cultures that with the Japanese people is so different that
Yes,
for
yes.
example here in the talk show the Ramq, for example, he in his personal life he has a strong Japanese influence, but he doesn't understand it too, so he don't know. he talking on English. He talking English with the Japanese people, and me and STG Cvlt Tropy, we don't have any familiar thing with the Japanese. We know that they are super players,
I
super
don't.
skilled, super all the stereotypic thing, but we are like out of there.
Also, Mark, which is, I mean, what El Gordito just said is true, sort of way that there's a bunch of people that actually understand English, but there's more people actually that they don't have a clue basically. And that's why we have this podcast. I'm trying to do videos too. I tried. The reason why I'm here is basically I saw that gap. I saw people that want to get into the genre, but I mean, the only resources they found was in English, and they don't understand anything. So I'm not. I'm not that cool to be on in front of the camera and anything. But I was like, all right, I will try to just make some content, just play some shit, and try to do it for the Spanish community so they can understand what I'm playing and what is this and everything. But um, we appreciate that actually you provide us the resources in English and try to do it for Spanish too, and that will give us for like Eduardito, myself, information that we can actually share to the Spanish community as well in our way. That makes sense. So it's kind of a chain, like in a chain reaction in the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
Bueno, lo que dijo Mark es que tiene sus padres. Le preguntamos qué opina de la comunidad española, de habla hispana. Dijo que sus padres son de España, que no aprende a hablar español porque dice que es un vago, pero bueno, yo digo, si todo lo que hace en el día a día, ¿dónde está el lugar para aprender español? Si juega, hace juego, YouTube, trabaja, o sea, bueno, pero que se siente muy familiarizado con la comunidad española, como que la entiende el flow, que dice que a veces no le pasa lo mismo con otras comunidades. Por ejemplo, el ejemplo que él dio fue la japonesa, como que se siente muy ajeno, ¿no? Y bueno, que también recibe como ese feedback de los canales de la comunidad española en su canal de YouTube, sabiendo que él no hace un contenido de lenguaje español. Entonces, que nada, que se siente como sorprendido. Okay, Mar, what was the incentive to start with the Shmup Slam?
Oh, so I'm Shmup Slam is one of the things I'm most proud of that I've ever done with the channel, because the whole idea with it, again, going to the fighting game connection, was I noticed whenever I had fighting game tournaments, even local ones, that I practiced way harder and like played, and the games mattered so much more when I had a local ahead of me or when I had a tournament ahead of me. And I thought, Shmups need something like this. They need some sort of like social type of meaning to them to give players, like average players, more motivation to play and like take part in the genre. Because going to your locals, for what kept me around fighting games for a really long time, but local shmups, that's so hard to pull off, and it's actually super infrequent and rare, and like I'll never have a local shmup scene. Like that'll never happen. And the problem is that as cool as a lot of the shmup events were, mostly what they were sort of centered around was super plays and like the best players in the world playing and demonstrating, which is really awesome. But I thought there's a sort of opening there where I want an event that a more average-ish player could look forward to and try and submit a run into. And it's not like super serious, you know, it's not like you must get your PB or you'll be executed type of thing. But I also didn't want it to be so casual that it's boring, you know? So that's what I sort of aim at with Shmup Slam, where it's pushing that specific player towards their PB. And what's fun about Shmups, unlike like something like speedrunning, where some speedruns are really exciting, but other ones, like let's say you lose a minute, like maybe one person in the audience notices, but for most people, we're not really familiar with what's happening. What's great about Shmups is even if you're an average player and maybe you're going for like a 1-all or a 1cc, it's still exciting because you might explode and die. And that's always just exciting to watch. And so that's kind of the idea of Shmup Slam, is to give more of the average players something to look forward to try and like work towards that isn't so unattainable that, you know, you'd have to be one of the best players in the world to take part, but also having a nice mixture of all types of different players. So that's the idea behind Shmup Slam.
Ok. ¿Me traducen, por fin? Una manito.
Ok.
Bueno, sí.
Dale, Rama.
Ok, so, lo que hice primero menciona que él tenía la idea, por ejemplo, en los juegos de lucha, que uno, por ejemplo, tiene un torneo y se pone a practicar para el torneo porque quiere jugar bien. Y él quería hacer como un evento donde la gente tiene como un objetivo. Entonces, vos decís, bueno, voy a hacer un clear, voy a hacer mi personal record, ¿viste?
Sí.
Intentar practicar para ese evento. y también el hecho de que no quería que sea tan casual, digamos, no de que la gente vaya a creer fidel, sino que también tenga un poco de peso, digamos, en que el objetivo que está intentando hacer la persona, por más que sea un create clear, que sea lo mínimo, eh, que por lo menos sea algo que sea un poco difícil, por lo menos, de
Claro, sí, que
alcanzar,
tenga
que
su
necesite
atractivo de
práctica,
ver.
que tenga su atractivo. Y después también lo que menciona es que tampoco quiere que sea algo que solamente los top players
Sí.
vayan y jueguen.
Sino que
Digamos, que
un
sea algo
jugador
más
medio esté,
abierto.
sí, average
Sí,
player.
sí.
Ok, vale. Okay, we are closing the interview, Mac. But so the last question that I have is, how do you see the future of the Shmups?
I think about this pretty much every single day. Where is this going? I think right now we are definitely in a really good spot. It seems to be really growing, and more people are getting their eyes on the genre. As far as where it ultimately ends up, I actually don't quite know, because I could see a number of different scenarios. I could see it continuing to grow and popping off and being sort of like a thing for a while. And you'll see like your bigger YouTubers starting to say a thing or two about shmups or whatever. Like Donkey made a video about Ikaruga or whatever. You might see like stuff like that, and then real big YouTuber think pieces about how shmups are meditation or whatever. Or I could see it probably more realistically is it'll just grow into its nice healthy sort of niche and sort of just maintain that moving into the future, which I'm hoping. Like how certain RPGs just are popular, but they're not like huge, but they're still fairly like a Persona or whatever. Like it's popular, people talk about it, but it's not like taking over the world. I think I'm hoping Shmups sort of continue in this trajectory of just nice, steady growth, nothing too crazy, but not falling off.
You don't want
either.
Electronic Arts, for example, or
Yeah.
Ubisoft on the
Yes,
shmup.
exactly. Right, yeah. No.
Need for Speed shmup. The cars.
Right.
Ok. O sea, le pregunté sobre el futuro de los shmup y él dijo que lo ve que ahora está como en un muy buen lugar. Entonces cree que él va a seguir creciendo, pero se ve como en diferentes escenarios. Que él no sabe si esto va a crecer tanto como para el día de mañana vamos a ver, yo qué sé, youtubers muy populares haciendo videos de Ikaruga o haciendo videos de los shmup, o si va a ser esto si va a seguir siendo un nicho, pero dentro de ese nicho va a ir creciendo, que él lo que personalmente lo que más le gustaría, que esto se quede así como está, creciendo, pero a este ritmo, que no sea algo que, no sé, que mañana te levantes y lo leas en el periódico de La Vanguardia, los shmups y no sé cuánto, sino que sea algo así como tranquilo. Entonces yo le hice la broma de que no vas a ver a EA o Ubisoft haciendo un shmup, y él dijo, no, así está todo bien. Entonces, bueno, yo creo que vamos a ir cerrando la entrevista. Vamos a preguntarle a Mark que diga lo que él quiera decir ahora, y luego pasamos a las noticias para ir cerrando el Talkshow de hoy. Mark, now you can tell to the people that is watching us and then is going to watch this video on YouTube. Tell whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever I want, huh? This is where I start brainwashing your audience.
Brainwashing.
This is when I start hypnotizing you all to become my pawns. Okay, well, definitely check out my YouTube channel. That's like the main thing I do, the Electric Underground. I'm trying to coax people into maybe checking out the Reddit, because basically what happened is I decided, instead of constantly paying hosting fees every year for my website, as fun as it was, I decided to put that sort of effort towards my Reddit instead. So it's actually going to have stuff on there. It's not just, most Reddits where it's like, it's a Reddit, but like I'm trying to actually, like my articles that I put on there, my input lag stuff that I do. When I organize Shmup Slams, I'm going to be doing it mostly through the Reddit.
Okay.
So I check that stuff out, my Reddit for sure. And the channel, for sure.
Ok. Le dijimos que diga lo que quiera en este último momento de la entrevista. Y bueno, que va a estar el link en YouTube. Va a estar el link del Reddit de Mark, que ahí es donde él está escribiendo los artículos. Antes que estar pagando un host de una página y todo, quiere llevar todo el esfuerzo al Reddit. Así que bueno, yo tengo el Reddit descargado, así que me voy a apuntar también el Reddit de Mark. Y voy a dejar el link en el vídeo. Y bueno, que por supuesto visitemos su canal de YouTube, que van a tener todos los links del canal de YouTube y del Reddit en la descripción del vídeo. Así que ya saben, pinchen ahí. Y fuera, ahí en el chat también tiene el link. Gracias, TQ. Ok, sí.
Déjame hacer una última pregunta. Ahí.
Dale, rapidita que tenemos que cerrar. Vamos.
Rapidita, sí, claro, rapidita. Mark, one question. Last question. You call, going back to the Electric Underground name, and also I remember that you have mentioned before, like having these maps as a lifestyle, something that
Definitely.
you follow.
Yes.
What do you mean with that?
Oh, that's a great question. So there are certain styles of gaming that I think sort of fit better in sort of like, now when I say lifestyle, that can sound like a lot of different things, but just in terms of sort of the way you view the genre it is more of a lifestyle type of genre than something like, I'm trying to think of like just a first person shooter that comes out or whatever. Like Shmups, when you meet people who play Shmups, like there's a lot of things they sort of have in common as far as like, because the genre is such a slow burn, because you have to practice at it, because you have to immerse yourself in it, and it's just so deep and there's so much to the genre that it's like the further you go into Shmups, the more it will take over your gaming life, because stuff will just start to seem lame in comparison. Where nowadays, when I sit down and play games, it's actually really hard for me to play stuff other than arcade games, because you start to see it's like, this is just taking forever. It's not the same. It's not as exciting. It's not as interesting. You just get it gets in your blood in a way that I don't think other genres quite do. So that's kind of why I want the Electric Underground to be a little bit more of a lifestyle type of channel rather than just purely like, I'm just going to review every shmup that comes out and I just review things. Like, I like to include also content that's a little bit more like, it's hard to explain, a little less just directly about the games, but also like the life surrounding the game, like your arcade sticks or CRT monitors, or just like different topics around the genre too.
All right.
Cool. ¿Cómo es? Lo que le pregunté fue que él había mencionado de tener los shmups como un estilo de vida, como algo que uno hace. Y lo que él menciona es que cuando uno se pone a jugar shmups es como que el juego empieza a ser lo único que jugás. Los otros juegos por ahí no te llenan tanto. Uno se empieza a involucrar más en el género. Y también lo que él quiere mostrar en su canal no es solamente hacer reviews de los diferentes juegos, hacer reseñas, sino también explicar por el tema por ahí de los controles, de los monitores, de hablar un poco más de lo que lleva el tema de jugar shmups en
Claro.
general.
No, está bueno. Sí, ahí también como tal lo similar con los fighting games, ¿no? Te marca de sticks, setups, viajes, torneos.
Bueno,
Ya pasa a ser como un estilo de vida, más
sí,
allá
ahí lo
de
tengo al Tropic,
Claro.
que vive rodeado de placas, digamos.
Vale.
Sí,
Okay,
sí,
Mac,
seguís.
we are going now to say the news of the week. So if you want to stay and say something about any news that we are going to say right now, you can say it. You can say whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll hang in there.
Okay.
We are going to check the news of this week.
Okay, let's do it.
With the shmup. Okay. Now we have a Cotton reboot. We got the Steam version. It's out. Here
cool.
on Spain it costs like 38 euros.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive. It's cheaper the physical
What's
version.
about the input like with this one?
Cotton Reboot is good.
It's good.
That one has really low lag. So that one, Mark approved. Yeah, Cotton Reboot, right? Yeah, that's a good one.
Approved.
Cotton
Very
Reboot ya lo tienen en
Approved.
Steam, vale como 40 y pico de 48 euros acá. Después tenemos la otra noticia de que, ok, good news, we have Donpachi Daioho on Steam. Wait. No, the Gmode version de cell phone one, you know, on Steam. No era tan buena la noticia. ¿Y por qué no arranca el vídeo? La concha de su madre, boludo. Bueno, está. Tenemos la versión de Gmode, de la que había salido en Nintendo Switch. Ahora va a salir en Steam. but we don't have the date. So, agréguenlo a la wishlist y ya saben, ahí esperen y si quieren jugar a este juego, no sé, Mark, did you play this version, the Gmode version?
Yes.
Yeah,
I tried it.
I tried. Okay.
I was thinking about reviewing it, but it'd just be me kind of dunking on it for a bit. So I was like, I get what they're going for because this thing came out on like a Nokia, right? It came out on like an old
and a flip phone. Yeah.
So for what it is, it's kind of cool. I would say, if you want to experience the true version of the game, get yourself a Nokia flip phone and
yeah.
That way.
That would be so hard. Do you imagine like trying to do it with real buttons and everything? Jesus.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a cool idea, but as far as actually like playing it, it's a little bit underwhelming, I would say. But it's a cool idea.
Después lo que vi ayer, o la otra noticia es que sale el Cotton Fantasy. Yo me quedé como, ¿qué es esto? Y bueno, va a salir el Cotton Fantasy, que supuestamente hoy me hablaba el Tropi y me decían, no, que es el Cotton Rock and Roll, pero bueno, la versión como fuera de Japón la llaman Fantasy. Así que, vale, no es otro juego, pues dije, joder, ¿cómo están los de Cotton? Que viene los 30 aniversario del Cotton y ya empiezan a sacar Cotton de la nada. En un año te sacan 10 Cotton. No, es el mismo, el Rock and Roll, que ya están arcades en Japón, tengo entendido y todo. Bueno, y como siempre, los hijos de puta de Strictly Limited van a sacar las versiones físicas. Así que nada, todavía están para reservar. Do you ever play this game, Mac? Cotton Fantasy?
I have not played Cotton Fantasy yet. One person commented on my YouTube channel and asked, what the hell is with all these Cotton releases?
Yeah, the 30 years of
like,
Cotton is like...
It must be like a fire sale on the IP or something.
Yeah.
Release to I don't know what it is. Why are there all these Cotton games suddenly coming out?
Yeah, me neither.
Different people too. I don't know.
Ni idea.
So I haven't played it. I haven't checked this one out. The Cotton is hard to keep up with. They're chugging along.
Así que nada, eso, que bueno, otro Cotton más, que como siempre, toda la semana estamos trayendo noticias del Cotton. Ok, now we have the physical release and the digital release, I suppose. The Raiden 4 Mikado Remix en la PlayStation 4 y en la PlayStation 5. It was exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, but now it's going to be out for PlayStation 4 and 5. I don't know why I'm talking in English. Pero bueno, que va a salir Spanglish. Ok, I got you. Ok, que va a salir para la PlayStation 4 y la PlayStation 5. Tropi, supuestamente solo la música y ya está, ¿no?
El remix es el Mikado, el soundtrack, que es lo único diferente. El gameplay es lo mismo. Si
the gameplay is the same, the music is different.
Si Xbox 60, pueden jugar esa misma mierda, man.
Vale, ok. Nada, eso, que ya está anunciado y bueno, eso. Otro que cumple 30 años más. Igual que el Cotton, y bueno, ya tienen ahí la noticia del remix. Bueno, Ginug para Nintendo Switch, Xbox One y PlayStation 4. Vale, son los mismos que hicieron ¿qué toqué? Los mismos que hicieron el port del Glade Lancer, ¿vale? El equipo español que hizo el port de Glade Lancer. The same guys that made the Glade Lancer port, they are making the Ginug version for Nintendo Switch, PS4. And it is, we have the original release here, the Nintendo Switch release here. So, okay, it's out, I think. Sí, release day, 12 de noviembre, today.
Hoy.
And you have the different prices right here, okay? $6 is the $7, okay? Ginug. Parece que son buenos los ports, ¿no? Estos Tropics que salieron buenos. El de Glade Lancer.
El de Glade Lancer a mí me encanta, tiene opciones extra como el Twin Stick, se pueden usar los dos análogos, como Rolling Gunner, que puedes disparar de un lado y mover la nave con el otro análogo. Eso es bastante bueno. Trae un montón de features de scanlines y un poco de mierdas. Entonces la verdad es que vale la pena. Son ports. Yo sé que es un emulador corriendo en el Switch, pero la verdad es que está bastante bien, man.
No, parece eso muy bueno y además que el precio está bastante bien, la verdad. Y si le agregan esos fritter como el de las dos palancas y eso. Okay, we are done, Mark. Thank you, really thank you very much for being here. It is a pleasure to have you right here. You know, we have this talk show. We have this Discord that we only use it for the show. So if you want to stay there and then you want to have a little time here to make an announcement or wherever, you have your your time right here. This talk show is for you too, so you can use it wherever you want. So you can keep there and tell us, hey guys, I have to make an announcement. Do it to the Spanish community. I want to be 1 minute in the talk show for say something. This is on your disposition. You can use it wherever you want. We always say that to the guests. So I hope you enjoyed the talk show, the interview, the questions, and had a good time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun coming on, and if you ever want me to return, I shall. I had a ton of fun coming on and talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's really cool what you guys are doing too. I think it's really awesome to have more shmup content out there, especially stuff like you said where I can't speak Spanish, and so to be able to reach that whole sector of possible fans and players is really important. So that's really cool.
Oh, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it, Mark.
¿Algo que quieran decir, muchachos?
Thank you. No, thank you, Mark, for coming here. I know it was really early. I hope you. But you say you don't sleep, so I don't know now. But
Yeah,
no, I'm
yeah,
joking.
right. Is it early if I never sleep?
Yeah. But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming here and speaking with us. Yeah, I hope you had fun here.
Absolutely.
Ok, nos vemos. Gente, vamos cerrando. We are closing. We are going to say goodbye. Bye, people. Mark, thank you very much. As always, it is a pleasure to having here, really.
Say adios, Mark.
This channel is growing up. It's growing up.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista.
There you
Hasta la
go.
vista, como se despide en su programa. Ok, gente, nos vemos. Gracias a todos los del chat, todos los que acompañaron. Thank you to all the people in the chat. Thank you to the people that was supporting. So, nos vemos. Chau, gente. Cuídense. Adiós.
Luego.